Hello everyone and welcome to today's presentation, B2B marketers driving revenue with digital, getting digital data into the hands of your sales teams. My name is Mario Kiriakou and I am the co-founder here at Ratio. So some of the ground rules for today. Today's session is being recorded, and if anyone would like a copy of this, I will just let me know and I'll send you a copy in the next day or so after today's presentation. So let's get straight into today's webinar. Why Sitecore and B2B? So the commonality with everyone on today's call is that everyone has Sitecore as the core platform of their website. Within the Sitecore world, you rarely hear Sitecore spoken about as a B2B specific platform. There are B2B platforms out there such as Accountbased who are geared exclusively around the needs of a B2B marketing audience. All of their content, collateral, messaging is around B2B, account-based marketing, whereas with Sitecore, it's not. It's positioned very much as a platform that is relevant for B2C and B2B. But really, from our perspective, when we dig deeper into the platform, we've always felt that it's more of a B2B platform than a tool that's useful for highly trafficked B2C brands. And we'll talk about in a little bit in the following slides why I feel Sitecore is uniquely set up to support B2B marketers. So some of the challenges we've discovered with B2B businesses, they want to pull the levers they already have in place to generate more and more importantly, higher quality leads. A commonality amongst most B2B companies is they've invested heavily in technology, but haven't either connected it, which is something quite common, especially with things like email systems, CRM systems, or leveraging it correctly, or even leveraging their technology or marketing tech stack to its full capabilities. The other part is lead scoring. So they want to understand how lead scoring could be applied to their own unique use case and how it could be set up and deployed. They want to understand how personalization can be deployed effectively, whether for cross session personalization or more targeted account-based personalization. The cross-channel journey isn't consistent, and this kind of fits into your marketing tech stack isn't connected, but also feeds into the fact that most businesses have strategies aligned with single channels. So think about your own processes. Do you think about the website, and then do you think about how you communicate with your customers and prospects via email, and spend less time thinking about how those journeys will step over and overlap from one channel to the other. And the final part, which sits outside of marketing's core, I suppose, responsibility, but obviously within B2B, who are directly responsible for supporting your sales and business development teams, the issues around high quality leads not being recognized or actioned quickly enough or properly enough by your counterparts in the sales teams. So why are we talking about B2B? So as a consultancy here at Ratio, we've over the last 5 years worked mostly with cycle clients within the B2B space. And that's kind of mirrored by the types of clients who actually are on the platform. So you may think of Cycle as a enterprise level tool used by big brands such as L'Oreal and EasyJet, because these are the type of brands Cycle will obviously predominantly talk about because of their brand recognition. But the reality is a very high percentage of the users of the Cycle platform within the UK anyway, which is our area of experience, are B2B clients. So we've set out as an agency to kind of solve a couple of problems. One, how can marketing show their value to the business and not be seen as a cost center? This is a continual gripe we always hear from B2B marketers, where the business doesn't believe that marketing in a B2B organization or context drives pipeline or revenue. It's there more as brochureware more as a shop window which you need to have in place, but really all the real business it happens offline. And I know that's a very frustrating feeling for a lot of marketers. The other part is marketing have a genuine want to drive more value for the sales team, looking to close more business. So the question is, how can digital help support the wider business development and account management function within their organization to be more successful? We're going to talk about a couple of different use cases. So within the next couple of slides, if I were you, I would think about your own company, your own brand, your own website, and think about whatever I'm going to talk about in the context of your own site. So some of these may apply, some of these may not. But in terms of B2B, a couple of things which come up time and time again in terms of the type of data we want to be capturing or aren't capturing and just aren't aware we're actually capturing that data within the platform. One, as a business, we're interested in geography, in regional-based capture of data around our prospects. So things such as it could be states in America, it could be cities, it could be, if you're a UK business targeting global customers, it could be about recognizing visits from specific countries. The other part is about aligning the other part is about aligning the targets that you have as a business. So are you a business which works on either a sector or account-based targeting model? If that's the case, we could and should be looking to capture data based on those two criteria. So for in the example above, it is a sector and account-based model. So looking at the profile of visitors based on, in this case, are you from the energy sector? And within the energy sector, drilling in a little bit deeper based on company IP to understand, are you coming from a Shell or a BP, for example? The other part is about trying to capture and track in the B2B context the recency and value that your digital site is adding to that individual that's bringing them back over multiple times. So are we tracking your visitors at an unknown and known level based on the number of times they're visiting within a week, within a month, within whatever recency period we set up to track? The other part of it is that all B2B companies are great at producing content either around their products or around the areas of expertise that they provide for their clients. And a question to ask yourself is, as a B2B marketer, are we actively tracking the engagement those specific users and prospects are having with the different types of content that you are producing as a business? Before carrying on, I just want to cover off two main areas, just to reinforce why we feel B2B and Sitecore are uniquely set up to drive value for your sales organization and drive a better experience for your prospects. One, from the marketing side, unlike with larger B2C companies who perhaps invested far more in their own internal marketing resources, B2B tends to have smaller marketing teams. And this seems to be a universal case, regardless of the size of the B2B company. B2B company can produce revenue in excess of $500 million, yet they still might have a relatively small digital team. And so you're looking to do a lot with less resources. As a marketing team, there's a greater focus from B2B on knowing what is happening at an individual level. There's an emphasis on account-based selling. And you want to know the impact that marketing channels play in driving sales. And from a sales perspective, sales are always on the lookout for more information to help them close deals. They're far more focused on nurturing prospects over potentially a much longer sales cycle. It could be a couple of months to a couple of years, depending on the type of products and services you're selling. They're trying to have more relevant, more detailed conversations with clients based on having a deeper understanding of what they're interested in. And ultimately, if you're a business that produces a lot of leads, sales are always struggling to figure out where they should allocate their time. So how do you prioritize leads for follow-up? But why Cycle? Well, fundamentally, Cycle is uniquely set up because it knows what your users are doing. The data is there, but the challenge we've come across with the clients we've worked with is that even though the data is there, there's a lack of understanding from B2B marketers using Cycle as part of the marketing technology stack about what that data is, where it's held, how it could be used, and how it could be extracted so it can be deployed in their wider digital marketing strategy. The other part of it goes to the heart of what is, for most B2B companies, the single source of truth for everything they do as a sales organization, and that's the CRM. So all B2B organizations will have a CRM in place. Now, if they're using CRM properly is something which comes up quite often, and you hear the common gripe that the wider sales organizations still use Excel, glorified Rolodex decks to capture and manage their relationships with clients. But if a sales organization within a B2B company is looking to track revenue, pipeline opportunities, it will be within the CRM and not within any other systems. And also in terms of managing their existing clients, most of that data, again, is held within the CRM. So there's a lot of data that's valuable to a B2B marketer, which they don't necessarily have access to. And one of the benefits of Cycle is in this two-way integration. Now, most people we speak to think of it on the, I suppose, level one approach, which is integrating a form with CRM. So you don't have to manually upload a CSV form of leads, or sign up to white papers, etc. But beyond that, the two-way connection can allow you to do something far, far smarter beyond just transferring data across to what is another technology system. We can leverage that data held within the CRM system to enrich the database within Cycle around what your individual prospects and contacts are doing at any given point and what they're interested in. And as I go along today's presentation, that will make a little bit more sense in terms of how we can see that driving value for you as a business. I won't spend too much time talking about this because I'm sure you've all heard the message in terms of Cycle's use in terms of optimizing the end-to-end experience that your clients have. This was probably one of the main reasons you bought or used the platform. It's probably one of the main reasons you've been frustrated with the platform ever since. Ideas such as split testing, different experiences, different pages, deploying personalization is a continual ask. There's also a continual challenge amongst most customers, in terms of the technical challenges of deploying personalization, not knowing where to start. There's things such as the data is held there, but it's not analyzed in the same way that GA data is analyzed. So what is the point of having all this data if it's put to no use? We're going to talk about in a second why and how. In B2B, regardless of the type of B2B organization you have, you most likely have a elongated sales cycle. And the challenges around that stem from the need to build long-term relationships as a marketing department with your prospects and customers. We can't assume that your customers will come back to you if they have a specific need or requirement. We have to think of it from the point of view that we want to mirror the type of relationships your offline BD account management functions have with their prospects in terms of the type of relationships they build offline. We're looking to try and replicate that type of experience, that type of relationship online. And in terms of B2B marketing, you have lots of tools within your arsenal to manage this, from capturing the data that tells us what your prospective and existing customers are interested in terms of what content are they consuming? Are they more interested in specific sectors or services or products your business provides? So capturing that data over the course of a longer period, cross-checking it against data in the CRM to see if they are part of a live opportunity, and then proactively engaging with them cross-channel. So this is where things like personalization, account-based personalization, being more intelligent with your email marketing outreach, and that could be in terms of segmentation, but also in terms of the relevancy and speed of which targeted communication is sent to prospects based on having a deeper understanding of what someone is interested in at a given time. And the marketers we work with find this type of approach useful because they are looking to deploy and test an account-based personalization approach. They're looking to retarget prospects based on previous content consumed. They're interested in understanding how you can trigger personalization based on prospects hitting a certain lead score, and we'll talk about lead scoring in a second. They're interested in how do you trigger automated emails when prospects interact with certain content or product pages. And things such as, as we talked about earlier, how do you enrich CRM content records with some of that rich data that you're holding within a separate system. But a question that comes up over and over again, B2B marketers are being asked, how can they drive value for sales and client functions? Marketing doesn't want to be seen as a cost center. It's always a problem. Marketing is always looking to gain resources in terms of additional hires, but also increase the budget. And the truth is, the simplest and fastest way to do that is to be able to turn around to your sales leadership and say, marketing helped influence X pipeline, and we can put a pound figure over the amount of pipeline that we created and also the amount of pipeline that was converted to sales. Now, marketing is never looking to take credit for driving sales exclusively. Marketing there is, the way we look at it is the warm-up act for sales to run out and close it. But ultimately, sales needs marketing to get them into the right type of conversations. So we're going to talk about a specific use case. So the audience, so relationship sales managers, every business we speak to, refers to their internal sales account management functions using different terminology. So you would know exactly what I mean. And their sales function are looking to understand how their prospects and clients are interacting with their companies and how they can leverage that sales intelligence to drive more targeted conversations and ultimately drive pipeline and sales. So a couple of challenges that may be applicable to your B2B organization. You generate lots of leads, so sales are not sure where to focus their efforts. You need the way to be far more proactive with existing customers. You need a way of discovering new sales opportunities, and one which is relevant for both sales and marketing is how to tailor the conversation based on online data. As I said earlier on in the presentation, the data is in Sitecore. So Sitecore's always had this idea, this tool called the experience profile and the experience profile card, which is basically a digital version of a CRM contact card. Probably seen it in dozens and dozens of presentations, but also you've probably grown kind of jaded with it over the years. And the reality is there's a good reason to become jaded with this, because as an organization, even if you have this set up so you're collecting data, so what? You can go into your system, you can have a look, you can click on the icon in the back end of Sitecore, see you can access individual profile cards for unknown and known visitors, but big deal. As a marketer, do you really have the time to sift through hundreds or potentially thousands of records? The truth is, it's not set up in a way that allows you to extract actionable insight and do anything with it. One of the joys of using tools like GA, and which is the reason why it's still the most common single source of truth for digital data, is its way of extracting actionable insights. You could learn something that you could then reapply to your marketing to improve something. Whereas with this, it's actually very difficult. So the data's there, but it's not in a way that's useful for marketing or sales teams. terms of the type of experience we're looking to build, we're looking to, and I'll give you an example on the screen at the moment of an example user journey. This prospect, she visits for the first time, but we identify her company IP. Perhaps less relevant now, what with home working around the world. But obviously, you assume at some point people go back to the office and an IP tracking will become more relevant at that point. But still, we can still capture other relevant data points. This individual, she returns to the site after a number of months. She consumes more content. She perhaps completes a form. From the digital side, as a marketer, we can then look at personalizing the experience based on her company because we have recognized we previously tracked her IP address, even though that was a number of months previously. Again, remember when I talked about that in B2B, sales cycles are elongated. So from our point of view, we might be dealing with an individual who returns to your site, over a 12-month period. Again, they may go away, come back within a few months, view more content. Because they previously completed a form, we can trigger an email based on the content preference that we have tracked based on perhaps the form of completion and the type of pages they've looked at before. Perhaps then they go offline and initiate a conversation with sales and then ultimately purchase your services. But from the marketing point of view, we can look to create automatic emails based on the type of conversations they're having with sales in the CRM. So we can continue to nurture them over time. And ultimately, this type of model we want to get to. But we talked about how we help the sales organizations within B2B. So we talk about how we put that X profile data into the hands of a non-marketing audience and how we make it useful for them. So how do you deliver that data in a useful format? As I said before, you may have tens of thousands of these records in place. It's very difficult for anyone to sift through them and extract insights. There's a couple of ways. Now, on the screen, I've got an example of one profile card, but you could time this by 1,000 or 2,000 or a couple of thousand of these. So how do we extract that insight? We always look at this as baby steps first. So we've got the simple route to the far more complex route. So I'm going to talk about baby steps first. It's very simple. We're talking about a day or two to create reports which are automatically updated and pulled into live Excel sheets, which you can share with your sales teams. So these can be as simple as creating reports that show the type of companies, the named companies which are coming to a site. If this is important, it could be important if you're having an account-based sales strategy. Date, the value. If we built in a lead scoring model, we can create. It's quite simple to create then automated emails for salespeople who are quite busy, who don't have time to even look into these reports that trigger automated emails to seller A or seller B for the accounts they look after, telling them that for example, Chase Manhattan, an account they're looking after, has been to the site and looked at X, Y, and Z. But looking further ahead, all this data is there. It's just not in a way that is siftable, useful for a sales team. Another way is to pull that data into an interactive dashboard based on built around your business's approach to managing prospects. So this might be, it tends to be more of an account-based approach. So you're more interested in knowing what X account is doing and why. So, for example, BP, you want to know what BP is doing as an account level and what all the individuals, potential prospects from that company are doing at an individual level, but aggregated at the account level. But it's quite easy to pull that data from Cycle and build it into an interactive dashboard for sales to just go in and dig deeper into their prospect data. And looking further ahead, more of the advanced model, it's quite easy once that data is created to create an almost like a Facebook style update page for sales, um, telemarketers, account managers, client relationship people to log in each day to have a single view over what a prospect or an account is doing, what content they're viewing, what they're doing at a given moment. And the final thing I'm going to touch upon is lead scoring and the role lead scoring has to play in terms of if you generate lots of leads, how you could better nurture and those leads and how you can deploy account-based personalization. So one thing to think about is how you build your lead scoring model. And I'm not going to go into it too much today because we could spend a whole afternoon looking into the details of how you build a lead scoring model. But as a business, you have the tools there, you have the technology already in place. You just need to create the model and set it up within your platform so you begin scoring your leads. But it is, once the model has been created, it is useful for a couple of reasons. One, we can look to pass over leads to sales teams once they've hit a certain lead score. So if you're generating lots and lots of leads, you want your sales teams to focus their efforts on perhaps the top 5 or 10% in terms of value, and that's determined by prospects hitting a certain lead score. The other side of that is slightly more sophisticated, is to deliver a personalized online experience for your prospects and visitors based on the score that they hit. So, for example, if a prospect is reviewing content quite a lot, they're interacting with your content, they're downloading things like white papers or signing up for webinars, their lead score is building up a higher pace. And when it hits a certain level, we can then tell Cycle to deploy a unique personalized experience based around what we've captured and built around that lead scoring model to make the experience far more relevant. Again, this is quite advanced. So for most organizations, the challenge and I suppose phase one is always to look at just building out that initial lead scoring model. So that brings us to the end of today's presentation. That's been half an hour, as advertised. So I won't take up any more of your time. As I said, today's session was recorded, and I will share a recording in the next day or so. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your days.